Again, my name is Reginald McKnight. I'm Google's Global Head of Social Impact, and as Stephanie mentioned, I'm so blessed to be a member of this Rotary Club. On behalf of everyone at Google in our new beautiful building, thank you so much for having us here today. A special thanks to Rotarians Clark Dean, Dave Moody, Levette and Michael Russell in the front row here, Glenn Jackson and Reverend Shan Cooper for providing me with so much support since I joined Rotary about a year ago. And while I'm a relatively new member and have had a chance to work with many of you, I look forward to working with many others of you over the years to come. In the meantime, it's my great pleasure to help facilitate today's program. I think the timing is particularly perfect given the mayor's talk last week about his continued investment in the city to introduce two of our amazing vice presidents to talk about our continued expansion and growth in the city of Atlanta. So without further ado, let me introduce you quickly to Monique Pique and Felisa Connie. I know you've seen both of their very long and impressive, amazing bios, but just quickly, let me tell you a couple of things about each of them. Monique Pique is Executive Vice President, Global Server Operations and Tech Strategy. In that role, she's accountable for creating a transformative organization that will center on delivering customer requirements in our technical infrastructure organization. And Felisa Connie serves as Vice President of Server Operations and Synchronization for the Americas at Google. In that role, Felisa is responsible for developing and expanding Google's servers, floor operations, and data center materials, including strategies for technology, data center planning, and staffing. So without further ado, let me turn it over to Bob to introduce you further to Monique and Felisa.
This is a very tough audience. I'm going to tell them twice. No, I'm just kidding. We are so thankful you're here. These are, our community leaders here, and a great curiosity for all of us, I think, is, really what is happening to our city. I'm old enough that I can remember meeting with a guy named Obie Brewer years ago, who used to be the head of the Chamber of Commerce, and he sat there, and we were a Coca-Cola town and a Delta town. And he said, Bob, there are 6 people in this town that run this city. And we've been used to that forever. And then suddenly, we start seeing these big tech companies coming to Atlanta, and the whole dynamic is changing. And you're really the first ones we've had the opportunity to sit here and talk to. So what I'm going to ask you is really some questions that are going to open our minds to what Atlanta is becoming in a very different city than what we may have been used to. So the first thing I want to ask you is just, I'm going to guess, when I was 6 years old, I wanted to be a baseball player. And baseball players are still around. But when you were 6 years old, what you're doing today didn't exist. So how about sort of telling us what you went through and what you've done to get to where you are today? And let's find out something a little personal about you to get started. And either one of you start.
You know what? I appreciate you sharing that comment because I'm a little bit older than what you think. So I'm going to celebrate that moment.
Well, I knew you were over 30, but I didn't know. I'm
30 plus.
31.
30 plus. I'm from Louisiana. That's home for me. It's a small town called Bogalusa, about 45 minutes east of New Orleans. And I ended up leaving Bogalusa, went to Southern University and HBCU in Baton Rouge. I'm an engineer by degree. Did go back and get an MBA. Then I started to work for P&G. Procter & Gamble is where I sort of began my career. And moved around the globe with P&G for a number of different assignments, kind of every 3 years, transitioning to locations, including 6 years in Europe, where I spent 2 years in Switzerland, 2 years in London, and 2 years back in Switzerland, and then ended up coming to Boston and finished out my career with P&G as a senior vice president of our global healthcare business. And took a small stint in private equity out of Chicago, and then went to work for retailer Walmart, and left Walmart as chief strategist and supply chain officer for Sam's Club. And then after 6 months of semi-dating, ended up joining Google. I am married with 3 children, a 28-year-old son. I've got a 24-year-old daughter who is at Tuck getting her MBA. And then I've got a sophomore here at Georgia State. That's me.
Wow. Okay, Felicia, top that.
Yeah, how do you top that? Wow, you go first. And Bob, no, I'm not nervous. You know, my mom and dad taught me long ago, never be nervous around fans and friends.
And there's some of those here.
So just some?
That's right.
All right.
And by the way, she can sing, and later if we encourage her, she might get up and sing for us. No.
Okay, I'll leave Bob alone. Very similar to Monique. My story is I was originally, was born in Portland, Oregon. Yes, me, Portland, Oregon. And was raised in Louisiana, a small metropolitan city called Delhi, Louisiana. 2,000 population, including chickens, cows, and horses. I, too, went to Southern University and graduated in civil engineering. And decided at my senior year I didn't really want to do the civil part, but wanted to keep the engineering. And there I, too, joined P&G. Didn't know Monique then, and I think we met later in our P&G careers. And had 24 illustrious years with P&G, all in supply chain operations and manufacturing, and ended in Singapore, in Asia, running the supply chain for our largest business there in fabric care. Never thought I'd leave the company. Aerospace called, and 6 months later, me and my family repatriated back to the US in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I served as the VP of our mechanical operations. And mechanical systems for us was, you know, you go on a plane. How many of you have traveled on a plane? Yeah. Okay, you have the door actuation, you have the interior design, you have the propeller systems, and you have that critical core system called landing. So I had responsibility for that operations and spent 2 great years with the company, and Walmart called. And I said, why not? Let me navigate over to the largest retailer across the US, and had a great time in Walmart, really focusing on the distribution centers of moving food as we were entering COVID, and everyone was going back into the kitchen. So it was our role to really get that grocery across the US so that you can do what you needed to go do. And now with Google, I tell you, and have a fabulous boss. I won't tell you her name, but she's been fabulous, and you know, it's been almost a year and a half here, and as responsibility across for our America's server operations across both North and South America. So, Bob, I don't know about you, but I'm having fun.
Well, yeah, and we're going to have fun. If nothing else, we're going to have fun. You know, first of all, I think we've established you're way too smart for this group to start with. But somebody once told me, you know, when you make a speech, nobody really cares what you say unless they think you have the authority to say it. And I think you've established with us you have this authority to tell us what you're about to tell us. Google has been in Atlanta in some form for couple of decades, had an office here, but now strange big things are happening. You know, we see the building downtown and thousands of people are coming here and all. Can you sort of tell us what's going on with Google here and what is the, you know, what's all the investment and everything going on? Why Atlanta, Georgia? What's happening?
So, you know, I know all of you know this, but we know this too. Atlanta has a lot to offer. Okay, you're quiet. I'm going to say that again.
Okay.
Atlanta. Atlanta has a lot to offer. When we think about the great quality of life, and I can go on, but I won't because we're on a time constraint here. When we think about the deep talent and diverse talent across the community, you know, I think about the great engineering that we have in Georgia Tech, and we also think about the numerous historically black colleges and universities whose role and responsibility is to develop talent for now and the future. Atlanta has it going on. And Bob, I know you challenged me to tell a secret, so I'll tell just one.
Good.
Our PR might not like it, but for those of you in the crowd, Google plans to disrupt the tech industry. Okay, let me say this again. We plan to disrupt the tech industry. And in order to go do that, we know we have to meet talent where it is. Atlanta offers us that unique capability to not just deliver on, but exceed that commitment that we have. Here in Atlanta, Google has over 25 products and services and teams, and I will tell you, from working teams to our renowned, you almost hear the software and the hardware engineers, to HR, to comms, to ads, to sales. You know, our awesome products, of which I can go on and on today. How many of you have done a Google search in the last 24 hours? Come on, let me see those hands. I love you too. Keep it going. How many of you have YouTubed something in the last 24 hours? Yes, come on, tell the truth. Put them up. And we're proud about that, you know, that we have a range of individuals from all working that are really coming together to enable what the company knows it needs to be true to continue to thrive as we're doing today and to continue to be competitive for now and in the future. So I don't know about you, but we're excited to be here and we're excited about that.
Very good. I'm going to, before we get going with Monique and her answer, I got to tell you, I know a lot about Google. You know, I put that whatever I want on that line and punch return. And I know there's somebody up there really, really smart because she comes back instantly with the answer. And Monique told me earlier that that's her. You're the one. That's you. So how about you telling us about Google in Atlanta and what's happening here?
You know, I'd love to say that, you know, that we're just now getting started in Atlanta. But honestly, Google's been here a while. We have a data center in Douglas County that started up in 2003. So quite a long time. And for those of you who don't know what a data center is, it's critical for that data center to be operating efficiently so you can hit the button and the search responds in the 5 seconds that you expect. In addition to that, what's really also important for us, if you're interested in learning a little bit about that, and again, all of you are here, so we appreciate you wanting to know a little bit about what we are. We have a wonderful podcast called Where the Internet Lives, and you can go and search that for free and find out a little bit more about the data center. And as Felisa said, there's just so much here for us in Atlanta, and I am actually thankful because when Google called me, California was just not going to happen for me. And they gave me a couple of options. And wonderfully, and Atlanta was one of those options. And so, and they've been true to that. We have been growing in this space, growing in the metro, contributing to the community, and, you know, probably been a little bit sleepy for some of you, and you're like, well, you've been here that long and we haven't seen you. What's important for us to be intentional. And so as we have now really made an adjustment in the office centers that we've had, in our data center investments, that we show up in a way that is committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And hence, you know, if you want to have a diverse population, you have to go where they are. And as, you know, Felisa talked about that, Atlanta does offer us that. And so hence, it's an opportunity for us to expand our presence here, to deliver and be good for the community. And I'm just thankful that, again, it's a choice that Google is making good on. And again, it really does reflect our ability and our intent to be very intentional on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
You know, it's very impressive for somebody to listen and see what's coming out of Atlanta, because what you're in charge of is corporate across the board for Google in areas like servers. I would assume you have to have servers in order for there to be a Google. How does Atlanta fit into the sort of the cities that Google is big in around the country, and you know, your corporate executives here, and you know, what's unique about this place, and what are some of the other key cities around the country where Google operates?
Well, you don't want to hear about the other key cities. You want to hear about Atlanta, don't you?
We just want to hear about Atlanta.
You want to hear about Atlanta, yeah. So,
but I know we rank number one, but I just wondered who number two would be.
We're all number one, absolutely, absolutely. Again, I think it's the ability to impact community in a very broad way. So the Atlanta Metro, the traffic alone will tell you how big the Metro is. And so therefore, we think about all of the presence that we have and the ability to search talent For a while, tech talent has been perceived as probably not as diverse as we would have wanted it to be. I can tell you we are being extremely intentional about diversifying the portfolio of offerings because those are the customers that we serve. And we need to make sure our talent matches that customer base. And the top tier universities that we have here, both HBCU and non, give us a rich portfolio to work from in terms of being able to draw talent. Because no matter what we say or do, talent is absolutely at the core of what we want to be about, and it's absolutely what's necessary for us to continue to deliver on behalf of all of our customers. We still want to organize the world's information and make sure that it's universally accessible and useful for all. And if we're the world's information, you know, Atlanta, this airport is huge, and it gives us rich access. It gives us a huge portfolio of talent. It gives us campus footing and space. So we have a beautiful office we've just opened. We also are maintaining the other one that we've had. And we've got centers across that we're continuing to build upon. Now, for sure, we're building in other cities across the U.S., but I will tell you, Atlanta is by far most one of the places where we've been extremely intentional, and I'm using that word a couple of times because it is true. And we're investing very heavily in this space to make sure that we are going to, again, be able to serve all of our customers. And I know all of you are leveraging Google in lots of places and spaces because we get to see how many times you're hitting search engines and how many times you're watching the algorithms and how many times you're looking at the internet. And we track all that data because we want to understand whether or not it's useful. And we take that customer feedback and make adjustments accordingly. So.
Wow. You know, one of the most amazing, maybe the most amazing building I've ever been through is I did the tour of the Google building. And this is maybe a philosophical question. I'm not even sure what kind of answer I'm getting. But when you go through there, it's a work of art. You know, you look, I've never seen a building where every single square inch looks like it was planned to be unique, special, and different. I mean, is there a why behind that? I mean,
Oh, absolutely. How many of you have been part of any of the design or building construct for our Google new offices? One hand over here, a couple hands here, yeah, there you go. So, you know, we occupy 13 floors in that building, and every floor was an intentional homage to Atlanta's rich history of culture, arts, music, theater. We appreciate that we've had 50 different local agencies help us design and build it, and we've got art from 20 different local artists. So it's not about just being in the community and putting in a bland office. It's the epitome of what we call Googliness, which is rich and vibrant, and it's exploring and giving you, you know, diversity of thought, giving you a chance to really, you know, think about, you know, some offices you go into are stuffy, and don't take that personal if any of you all have that. Like, I'm not picking. We just enjoy color. We enjoy stimulative thinking. We start giving people an opportunity to really, really celebrate, you know, coming into the office. And that's important to us. We want people, you know, in today's environment, some people are hybrid, some are full-time work from home. Some people are, you know, trying to figure out if they want to go back. We've tried to put together an offering that helps people feel really good about coming in because they see some of the heritage that Atlanta has to offer. And no matter where they come from, because not every person, you know, is from the Atlanta area, they get to experience what is Atlanta. And if you've not been on our 18th floor, it's pretty slick. It's all about music, and it's got a lot of, you know, just homage to the different elements that Atlanta has gifted us. And I'm pretty excited about it. And so some of you will have the pleasure of touring the building. We'd love to host a few of you come through there. But it really is just a fabulous building that we just appreciate all of the local expertise that we had, because we didn't bring California and try to stick it in Atlanta. We took Atlanta and tried to do Atlanta, and hopefully that's what showcases.
Good. Well, you know, when I went through the building, I kept was thinking of something that I would have any kind of relationship to, but I kept thinking of these major colleges trying to recruit football players. And I kept thinking, you know, they want to take them on campus and really dazzle them. I kept thinking, if you're a young, you know, person studying engineering in college or something and being recruited, you walk in that building, you think, my gosh, this is where I got to be. I mean, it's pretty impressive. Yeah, we know where you are now. We're getting an idea of where you are now. So if you can tell us a track. If you look to the future, what would you see happening relative to Google in Atlanta? What can we expect?
Awesome. Awesome.
Well, thanks for saying
Can
awesome.
you hear
Nobody's
me?
ever said that.
Okay, let me try this again. Awesome.
Thanks.
All right. Third time. Hopefully you're learning that Google wants to be good to Atlanta. How many of you? Okay. Yeah. Awesome. And, the other one that we would say is we have a responsibility that wherever we choose to anchor, we have a responsibility also to our employees in that. We are committed to sustainable operations. We're committed to continuing to improve and make a difference, not only in our organization, but in the communities that we've served. We recently committed $1 million to the Urban League of Atlanta. And this was all around continuing to provide training to underrepresented communities across even Georgia. We know that the job seekers are going to be better as a result of this investment and bringing this digital skills training to them in a way that prepares them to receive jobs that are high-growing jobs. We've also recently worked with Mayor Andre Dickens and the Beltline. And we're about to launch a Beltline marketplace. And that's for Blacks and Hispanics and women that are small business owners. And what this allows them to go do was attract new customers. And we want them and need them to go do that in a way that it retrofits, get this, rail cars into retail. And we're coming and providing an additional Wi-Fi and our Google services and our Google Nest services and additional training for them to continue to be successful. So we want to be about this, and it's long-term. And it's a commitment that we have in continuing to partner with a lot of you in the organization to enable Atlanta to continue to win.
That's good. Now, Monique, we're going to turn it over to you. And think about it. You can say anything you want to because you're talking about the future. Nobody's ever been there. So just predict. Tell us what's going to happen with Google in the future here in Atlanta.
Okay, so you want me to story tell?
Story tell. A good story.
Yeah, so the best story I can tell you is we're a STEM-based company, right? And because we're STEM-based, you're going to continue to see us invest in education. And not just in the HBCUs and not just in the technical companies, but also in the technical colleges. We offer 22 different local colleges GCP certificates, so Google Cloud products. We want people to have an opportunity to invest because not everyone is going to go to a four-year university. But it doesn't mean they can't be productive. Doesn't mean they can't have meaningful careers where they can make, above living wage, which is what we pay everywhere that we offer in our employee base. So you're going to see us continue to do that. You're going to see us continue to step up and show up in places that, we probably haven't been before. So we are partnering with the Atlanta Public School System. We're sitting here. We want to be part of that community. We're going to be doing some outreach and some sweat equity to make sure we're showing up the way we should. Anybody can give money, but it takes a lot to give your time. So we're committed to showing up with our time. We're committed to showing up with our resourcing, both financial as well as our resourcing and our human capital. And so the future for Google is making sure that Atlanta sees us as good for Google. Our employees feel good about the company they work for. We know that we're not the only tech company that's taking a look at Atlanta. We just want to make sure when you look over here, you know what you're looking at and you keep looking because this is the place. We want Google to be the place that has first right of refusal to earn your business. And whether you're a small business or you're a large business, we believe we have a competitive offering for you that will help you win. We're investing in black banks. And we want to make sure that, where we spend our dollars and how we spend our dollars show up effectively across the board. But we also know that, again, this is, when we think about the communities that we serve, we have more than just African Americans in our base. We've got all ethnicities that work for us. Atlanta, if I look around this table, I see a beautiful array of people. And so how do we invest in those people? Because you're the customers that we're trying to serve to make sure we're showing up. So STEM education is going to always be part of how we engage, starting at the high school level on through, university depth. You're going to continue to see us focus on how we are organizing the world's information, and it is the world for which now Atlanta gets to be a centering spot, a foundational leg for us to build upon. This office has traditionally been a sales office. We now have technical infrastructure, is what we called it. That's part of the place where I sit, where Felisa sit, from a community standpoint, our data centers and how we think about sustainability and those elements. So the future is, if I could tell the future, we'd all be sitting in the future. And so I won't tell you a lie on what it is or isn't going to be, but what I can tell you is we intend to be there and we intend to be relevant, and we want to make sure that you see us as great customers, and every time you hit that search button that you are getting the response that you want. And what we've learned over time is the more you increase the expectations, the higher the expectation. So we won't sit on our loins and act like we're going to be good citizens. We're going to show you. Thank you so much.
Goodness. Well, you guys are good. Whew. I will say one thing. It's interesting to me now when you go to a big event or get out in the community that you see Google in so many places. I went to the Bill Foege Global Health Awards the other night, and where the business community and the global health community come together, and we have Global Health ATL at the Chamber of Commerce, so this is their big event. And Google was the presenting sponsor, and I thought, boy, this is interesting. It was great. Y'all are great citizens.
So I'm going to break in here so we can get to some audience questions. But I had one I wanted to start with because I heard a piece recently on NPR about data mining and energy consumption and data centers. And you've mentioned a couple of times about sustainability. So could you talk a little bit about what Google is doing to ensure that as the demand for all this information increases, it gets balanced with also taking care of our natural environment? There's not a rush to answer this one.
No. If you go to our website, you can see, you can find our commitments on sustainability. We build all of our data centers with power sourcing in mind. We've certainly made lots of investments in windmills, and we've probably been very, very productive. Well, I know we've been extremely productive in how we're committing across the elements that are true to sustainability. And so in the essence of time, please make sure you go and check out the website, and you can search Google and sustainability, but all of our commitments for the year 2030 are out there, and we are very, very committed to make sure that we are going to make sure that the Earth's resources are used properly.
So do we have questions from the audience? RK, welcome back.
Thank you. Both of you are very good. Let's give you a round of applause again. Bob, you're okay. Thank you.
No, I'm not.
I have a question for both of you. Anybody can answer. You have mentioned a lot of good things about Atlanta. And when I came to Atlanta, there were only 9 Indians. Now we have 250,000 Indians in Georgia. So I know what growth is, and I'm the first non-white member of this club. So my question to both of you is, you have mentioned a lot of good things about Atlanta. There's one single thing you can say that brought you to Atlanta. What's one single thing that you say is the most outstanding about Atlanta? If you don't have the answer, Bob, you can chime in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
You said the most outstanding, correct? I would just say the quality of life. When you look at the diverse offerings of this city, whether arts theaters, whether sports, whether entertainment, it is by far, I've lived a lot of places, but by far the most when I think about the quality of life. You know, when you think about also the heritage of the city combined with the diversity, just look around the room, as Monique said earlier. You know, you don't have this chance in a lot of places, and we've been a lot of places. You know, when Monique, I'll tell you another secret. When she started recruiting me, she mentioned some cities, and I was like, I'm not going. Sorry, won't be there. Cannot meet you there. She said Atlanta, I said I'm in. And again, I think it speaks to a lot of what we know to be true. And, you know, quite honestly, we have a responsibility to continue to improve. And I'd say for that, we're committed and we're in. So it has been, you know, I've been here a little over a year, and I will tell you it's gone fast, and it's been amazing. So I am looking forward to the next several years plus, Monique. Don't get rid of me or transfer me, please. Let this be a sound bite. But I'm loving Atlanta. and thank you.
I know we've got a question in the back, and then we'll have time for one more after that.
Hello, how y'all doing today? Thank you again for coming. Eric Thomas, Pharaoh's Conclave, and also professor of esports at Morris Brown College. The question that I have is, I know you talked about your commitment for education and working with Atlanta Public Schools and the colleges and universities as well. But what would be your commitment as well to work with some of those other organizations that have been working with young people as well in STEM education outside of that have been already supporting the colleges and universities as well as the K through 12 system as well? Standpoint, what would be your commitment to work with them to help them to continue all the good works that they're doing as well?
You know, probably we didn't mention, I mean, you know, you don't want to mention the entire resume of what Google does, but we do work with Inspire EDU in terms of their mission to serve underrepresented students in terms of, you know, computer-based and technology learning. We sit with TAG as well. We have a board seat there. We're working on helping shape politics and really kind of the DEI context of where where our organizations are sitting. When you think about, you know, the one thing about Atlanta, and I'll answer that question and come back to yours, is the fact that it's a transformative city. And Atlanta's a great place to win, right? You know, there's nothing more like a rivalry with Atlanta. And I say that because off script, but I'm a New Orleans Saints fan. And we may lose every game, but I tell you what.
We do play you again.
We certainly was able to do a little something in Atlanta here for this recent game. So what I will tell you is there are a lot of places of need, and we try to be choiceful, so we don't want to half do a whole bunch of things. We want to get it right, pilot, reapply, and then keep moving forward. So where there are opportunities for us to engage, and we try to reach out to the right resourcing to tell us that, we'll continue to do that. So if there's something that you think is an urgent opportunity, it's certainly something we can take under consideration. That's the way I'll answer
We've
that
got time for one last question.
Hi, yeah.
Hello. Yeah, great. So I'm Brendan. This has been awesome. Thank you. My question is on TikTok, and there was a super interesting article that I'm sure made the rounds at Google a week or two ago, just around even one of your execs saying that, you know, for many of Gen Z, you know, he said up to 40%, they want to find a good restaurant to go to. They're not searching Google or Google Maps, they're going to TikTok, which for people of my generation and maybe older, you know, Google is the place to go. And I'm curious, one, how do you sort of see Gen Z's habits and next generation habits sort of reshaping that core part of your business? And then two, what do you do to sort of stay ahead of that, to compete? Because it is often harder as companies grow larger to stay innovative. And there's something remarkable about that, but it is really a fundamental truth. And so how do you actually, particularly in like a competition like that, how do you kind of continue to push Google to move outside of its sort of, you know, out of its market cap and into real kind of nimble, agile innovation?
What I'll tell you what that is, you have to hire Gen Z, right? You have to let them speak for themselves. And if we think about the growth that we've had, we've been very fortunate over the last number of years. We have a huge think tank where we allow people to come in and we do a really good I/O conference. So input, output, and innovation in the open, where we take those ideation, bring students in, bring in, you know, Gen Z, look around the globe, because there are a lot of things that happen in other parts of the globe that then make them way to the U.S. So we do try to make sure that we're representative of that. Now, for sure, there's no doubt in the success of TikTok, but YouTube is still here. And there's some other things that we have going on. And what I'll tell you is we will continue to be transformative. You may not see it all because we like to bring it to life and we know it's ready for prime time. But we're continuing to bring the Gen Z input into the organization. We, you know, again, here in Atlanta, have hired quite a number of resourcing to help us in that space. And then we will always be a company on innovation. And so having that innovation in, and then learning from, right? There's nothing wrong with learning from the successes of what TikTok has done, and then figuring out how to embed that into the organization. And then also, you know, again, we've diversified ourselves away from just California. That helps us as well, because then it allows you to think about the global footprint and the global presence you have, and then being able to bring those inputs and ideas. And that's also the beauty of what Global Roles does for us. It allows us to think about where you can reapply some of those best learnings and best practices. So, you know, we see the success, we appreciate it, but we're gonna continue to offer I think those things that are innovative to our customer base, and again, as our continued employment base looks like the customers we serve, including Gen Z, it just gives us thought in terms of how to be intentional in the choices that we need to make to be relevant.
Thank you all so much.
Well-
I feel really good about Google right now, I got to tell you. And I don't think we have enough time for Felicia to sing. It's kind of sad.
So based on all that we have heard today, all we've seen so far, and all that we can anticipate into the future, I think it's safe to say we all have googly eyes for you guys. So thank you for a wonderful panel, and thank you for being here.